I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. Hi, my name is Jay Cause, and I'm doing a sensory evaluation. This report is on a sensory evaluation of vanilla ice creams. We decided to do this one mostly because of the observed trends of being on of promoting a healthier diet, of an increased demand of fat-free, low-fat products and low-calorie. So we are going to be looking at the fat content of various ice creams and how that affects their sensory attributes. That we have a total of 5 panelists that we did a descriptive quantitative analysis, and we did it on 5 different ice creams that go through a wide range of attributes and differences in their ingredients and overall quality. The 5 attributes that we are going through are going to be color, vanilla aroma, density, melting rate, or rate of melting, and creaminess. And for those, we had standards for them. Those standards are a vanilla bean, which we use just a fresh vanilla bean inside a glass tube, which we had holding so we could get a real whiff of the smell from it and concentrated aroma from that. Then we used a touch of vanilla painter's sample, which we were able to see that it had kind of a high value for the standards, where the same with the vanilla bean had a high standard. The heavy cream we used just about a tablespoon of heavy cream that we just drank, and to just see that creaminess that was from it, and that was kind of a midline for how creamy we wanted our standard. So then we did a can of whipping cream because it is a very airy but creamy texture to it, and you could smoosh it down with your mouth and be able to tell how dense it is because of the air release from it, and because of the structure that ice cream has. It also has air in it and changes in density, so that is why we use that. And then ice cubes we had was kind of our more difficult of our standards. We had it on almost the top of our the top of the spectrum for us, because we had a wide variance in how people were using it, because people would eat the ice, just chomp down on it. Some people were letting it melt. So we kind of aimed for a medium between us all, and it was still like almost 10 out of 15, so just about as high as we could get it because of those changes. So then our samples that we used were Breyer's Natural Vanilla Ice Cream, Dreyer's Slow Churned No Sugar Added Vanilla Bean, Tillamook's Vanilla Bean, Winco Vanilla Bean Ice Cream, and then Breyer's Lactose Free. Now, we chose these because of the variance in their fat content, with Tillamook being the highest at 10 grams per half a cup, and then Dreyer's Slow Churn No Sugar Added being 3. And we also looked at the sugar content and whatnot. But so they were pretty much almost the same exact price for all of them. They had some variabilities, but Tillamook being classified as a higher quality ice cream and a higher fat content did cost more with it. So of course our panelists that we had were Henry, Megan, myself, Greg, and Sarah, and we all did great, and we trained a couple of times and also had the training from the sensory lab that we've been taking. So from that, we did for each one of the samples, we gave it a 3-digit code, which were shown back up with the samples. And then we also decided we gave a cup of the ice cream in a random. Each person took it at a random interval, so we had random sampling there, and we went away from each other and filled out our 15-centimeter line scales that we used for that, and we did it twice to get as much to get our power up in our test and our survey as much as we could, because with the low number of participants, we needed that to help and get our different things. So we ran the results through an ANOVA, which, Dr. Ross, thank you so much for running for us. That was very much appreciated. And we can see that we had significant differences in color, vanilla aroma, density, and density for the panelists. And then we had significant differences in all the attributes for the ice creams themselves. And these were done on a 0.1 significance. So for alpha scale. And we can see that we got a lot of differences, which is what we wanted from the different brands and selection of ice cream that we did. So the Fishers also shows that we have a lot of differences in some of them, but a lot of them were also very similar in some of the scopes, but they have differences in each one of their different categories. So the correlation, the Pearson's correlation, I found it really interesting, because when you can find out that the melting rate and the vanilla aroma correlated the most out of all of the different attributes that we tested for this, which really piqued my curiosity with that. And we actually found a study that went and showed that, and it talked about, and we'll talk about that a little later when I talk about the different attributes. So we can see that on our biplot that the Breyer's lactose-free vanilla correlates which is right there, correlates with the creaminess and the vanilla aroma, which comes from them trying to come as close as they can to that creaminess without having that lactose sugar in it. And then we can see that the Breyer's natural vanilla correlates best with the creaminess. And then over here in the melting rate and density, we have Tillamook. And then with the Dreyer slow churned and no sugar added, and the vanilla Winco beans, they didn't really correlate as well as I would have liked with the characteristics that we chose. So I'm sure that if we looked at it again and did a wider variety of characteristics, that they would show up with those. Now, for our attribute results, as I was talking about with the vanilla aroma and the correlation between the fat, or between the melting, there's a study which was the sugar and fat effects on sensory properties of vanilla ice cream. It says the effect of sugar and fat in relation to the flavor and rate of melting found that the sugar content displays a positive relationship with the vanilla aspects of the ice cream samples, which I really like to see because this article proves that we're not doing something wrong, for one, and that the correlation that we got in our test confirms theirs and vice versa. And then with the melting rate, as the fat increase, we can see that the perception of the ice cream melting rate also increases, which is about what we were expecting with that. With the color, we found that also in that same article that as you increased the fat content, it will lead to a whiter color, less vanilla color from what our paint chip was. So we were right in putting that as a high one because of the cream that turning the color more white. But we saw a difference in the Tillamook because they actually added an egg yolk that darkened the ice cream a little bit from the color. The creaminess, the intensity of the creaminess texture attribute didn't correspond as much as with the fat amount as we thought it would. So that we just need, I think we need to do some further research and find some further insight on that. The density, it really came down to going through and that the highest melting rate had the highest density, or the lowest density as well. So it was really interesting on that. So in conclusion, we can see that that as the fat content of the ice cream increases, the melting rate decreases, as well as, and then the density increases, and then as the vanilla aroma will also increase. But as you decrease the sugar content, the results is a lower perception of vanilla flavor, which, because of that sugar compound that we saw. But what I think we really need to do is to add a little more power to this and do some more replications. A little more training will give us a little better results, and also get rid of the significant differences that we saw with the panelists. And here's the references to all the peer review journals that we use for this paper and project. And thank you so much for your time, and you have a wonderful day.